All statements and opinions expressed by guests of the Adult in the Room podcast are strictly their own and do not necessarily reflect the beliefs or opinions of the host, producers, or advertisers. All interviews are presented in their most complete possible form in the interests of free speech. No statements should be interpreted as financial, legal, or medical advice. Listener and viewer discretion are strongly advised.
It's the Adult in the Room podcast with Victoria Taft. That's me. Seamus Bruner is the author of a new book, and I'm going to find the picture of it because I want to make sure we get it on there. Controligarchs, Exposing the Billionaire Class, Their Secret Deals, and the Globalist Plot to Dominate Your Life. And thank you so much for coming back. I know we were talking about one specific thing the last time we had you on, and I was so fascinated by your testimony at the Antifa summit at the White House yesterday that I thought, oh my gosh, it would just be awesome to have you today. And thank you so much for coming on. Who's paying these people?
Hey, Victoria, it's really great to see you again. Who's paying them? I mean, it might be you. The crazy thing we found lately is that taxpayer funding goes to the big NGOs. It wouldn't be directly that you're funding these radical chaos organizations, but you are funding these grift organizations, things like a lot of the homelessness outfits, things that are supposed to address homelessness. There was a great report recently from the Capital Research Center, friends of ours, called Infiltrated. It's all about how Antifa and Antifa-aligned individuals, Marxist individuals, have infiltrated the homelessness NGO complex.
Absolutely.
And so they're diverting funds from what should be going towards taking care of homelessness. And even more shocking, some of the people I talked to yesterday at the roundtable with President Trump, they're saying that they talk to a lot of people who are homeless and are being wielded by the Antifa organizers. They're actually being flown from city to city to attend multiple anti-ICE demonstrations. And so if your taxpayer funding goes to the homeless group is infiltrated by Antifa. Not only do they divert funding, but they also exploit the homeless. So it's a pretty, I mean, in the homeless are by and large mentally unwell. A lot of them,
sure.
Which is why they're homeless. They just maybe prefer it that way or whatever it is. But we know homelessness and mental illness go hand in hand, and so they're exploiting, which is it's just disgusting to be exploiting mentally unwell people, paying them, flying them to go participate in insurrectionist appearing acts.
And tell me who's doing that. Just the NGOs dealing with the homeless industrial complex, if you will? Are they the same people that you mentioned? Well, look at these. Here's a few things that help that you talked about yesterday. Your Arabella and all these places. Are those the people?
Yeah, that's right. So we actually have a pretty small group that it's just a sample size, really. I mean, it's the biggest ones. It's the Soros Open Society Network, the Arabella Funding Network, that's, the New Venture Fund and the 1630 Fund and the Hopewell Fund, et cetera. Mm-hmm. But with Soros Network, Arabella Network, the Tides Network, of course, we've got on our list, as well as the Neville Roy Singham Network, which is People's Forum and Code Pink. And then there's a few more, I mentioned Tides, Ford Foundation, of course. But when you, take the ones we're looking at, it's still a small fraction of the total number of big billionaire funded NGOs and ostensibly philanthropic empires. And so there's a lot more money. We found over $100 million has gone into various Tides entities, Soros Open Society entities, and the rest. When you add in so many others, I mean, you've got the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation that gets a ton of government money. They don't put a ton into, from what we can see, this protest industrial complex. But what Bill Gates Foundation does do, or at least it did until June of this year, is it gives a ton of money to the Arabella network. So a lot of this money just kind of sloshes around. They fund each other, they pass the money around, and it all trickles down until you get into these radical groups that are fomenting chaos.
Mm-hmm. So you had talked about, on your urging, actually, I went and looked up where these groups are spending their money on direct action, because direct action is street violence. It is all kinds of things. And I was just showing you the video that I took of all of these people, all of these groups that are committed to direct action. And you've got, I mean, they go to the environmental groups. They talk to all different kinds, or they fund all different kinds of groups. And these are the people who are the professional protesters. Here we got Tides giving money to Southern Poverty Law Center. The other thing that's very troubling to me is the fact that a lot of these groups also, what I asked my AI, okay, what else are they funding? And one of the funding sources, one of the funding groups got money from these groups that were journalism, the new high-tech billionaires that are buying up newsrooms, right? They're buying reporters for newsrooms, and they're funding them, but only funding them if they report on certain things. So they're already going to be a radicalized leftist. Seldom do you have anybody who's even handed in these organizations. And I've been, over the years, kept track a little bit of who's got these reporters. And I thought, oh, that's so interesting. So they basically have a closed-end system. They have their own people in power. Those people are in charge and let this illegality go with these large groups in direct action. And they have community policing, so they don't allow anybody to be arrested, because the only people getting arrested and or hurt are right-leaning people who are reporting on them. And then they have media who report the way they want these things reported.
Yeah, that's right. In my remarks at the White House yesterday, I said, we've called this protest industrial complex Riot Inc.,
Yes.
Riot Incorporated. And like any major company, Riot Inc. has all sorts of divisions. And I'm so glad you brought up the PR and media division, because that's such an important one. I wasn't able to get into that, but you're right. Like Laurene Powell Jobs, the widow of Steve Jobs, she bought up all these newsrooms. They run propaganda. She's a part owner of the Atlantic, which is probably the most extreme left so-called legacy outlet. And it'll be the type of outlets that say Antifa is a figment of your imagination. It doesn't exist. The real problem is right-wing violence. And that's where, then all of a sudden MSNBC will pick up, the Atlantic reported, or some other Riot Inc. media division partner will have just totally covered it all up. But a division I talked about yesterday that is very important is the legal division. That is the, it's extremely well funded. I mean, the ACLU is a major part of this division, but you also have things like the National Lawyers Guild, which is a outfit that goes to defend these violent extremists. I mean, the ACLU is there on the ground in Portland, at other sites of unrest. They document, they wear vests, yellow vests or green vests, there to document only exculpatory evidence, anything that could say, so they'll selectively show that the police were having to drive back people who had just 2 minutes ago been shooting mortars at them.
Right.
And then the only thing you'll see is that the police are, having to defend themselves, being law enforcement, which is crazy. And so in any case, the legal division, there's several others, but the PR and the legal division, those are ones that people don't really think about. They kind of just think, oh, well, Antifa is its own standalone thing. And the message I really wanted to impart to, I mean, Stephen Miller was there, Attorney General Bondi was there, Secretary Noem was there, and Director Patel was there, as well as Todd Blanche. So, I mean, these are our top cops in the country.
Yeah, it's impressive.
They need to know this is an organized ecosystem. And I know Stephen Miller gets this because he's had some remarks since his good friend Charlie Kirk was assassinated, saying that, and Charlie Kirk absolutely understood this. There is an entire ecosystem here that works together. And so labeling Antifa as domestic terrorists is sort of in a way a symbolic move, and it doesn't cut off all of the funding mechanisms for Antifa. They just changed their name, by the way. I mean, now they're calling themselves anti-authoritarians, and so now they're not Antifa anymore. They're anti-authoritarian.
Oh, really? Oh, I missed that.
Yeah, well, in Rose City Antifa, it used to be Rose City Antifa. I mean, they're just dropping the Antifa, and it's like Rose City organizers, and so that doesn't stop it, though. So that's why you really have to go after, especially the funding apparatus that makes the entire ecosystem possible.
Oh, this is so interesting. I see that one of the fundees is the Southern Poverty Law Center, and if we can just go back for a second, you just mentioned that most of the people on the left say that most of the people who are the most dangerous are those on the right, stemming from a so-called study of somebody who was Antifa friendly in the Biden administration. No kidding. Who said that, most of it's right-wing violence. It's all right-wing violence. So the FBI's just cut ties, I should say, with Southern Poverty Law Center and another organization, which for whatever reason I'm forgetting at the moment. But another bunch of people who just lie. I mean, seriously, just like they lie. I mean, they just lie. And I don't even know what to do with these people, but they rely upon these studies and these graphs that are given out. These people are a hate group. Charlie Kirk is a hate group. Give me a break. Stop it. And so they rely upon those for their news stories. Those news stories are recycled into action by the people in power. And then they, as we've seen, a closed loop kind of a thing. It's just rinse and repeat.
Yeah, it's the ADL, the Anti-Defamation League,
that's it,
and the Southern Poverty Law Center. Yeah, they completely just make up stories, figments of their imagination. They try to blow everything out of proportion. I mean, labeling half the country. The way they present both SPLC and ADL, the way they present just normal conservatives as fascists and Nazis is completely dangerous. It's so out of control. And so, the FBI was previously relying on like the hate map, and who else was relying on their hate map was killers. I forget which one, but there was a mass shooter who said, they had the SPLC hate map.
He went to the Family Research Center.
Groups of the right. Yeah.
He went to the Family Research Center and shot a cop.
That's exactly right. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. So they do inform people who are dangerous people, and not so well either, not very well informed. What else do we need to know about this Antifa funding, or should I call her anti-authority funding now?
Yeah, anti-auth isn't as fun to say. Well, let's see. I also mentioned the foreign connections here with Neville Roy Singham, and what's interesting is something that kind of percolated up out of the roundtable was the potential to designate Antifa a foreign terrorist organization, which comes with, and by the way, I don't think this should be done casually, but this is an international movement. There are chapters all around the world. They're marching everywhere and causing property destruction everywhere. So I don't think you can call it a strictly domestic, but I believe the rules are and the abilities to really conduct forensic audits of the international money flows, they're a lot easier when that designation is made. So President Trump yesterday seemed interested in exploring that and directed the Attorney General and the Secretary of Homeland Security to look into it.
This is the Rose City Antifa website that I was just looking at. And now, did you happen to see, by any chance, the story about?
Have they changed their name on that website? Because
I was just looking to see that, but let me just. I did not see that they'd done.
Well, another thing. So while you're pulling things up, what I would say, what you should pull up. One of the things we've uncovered is roughly $3 million that has gone from the Arabella funding network, and I think it's the Tides and possibly Soros funding network, is this website Open Collective. And if you go to opencollective.com, this is like a strictly left-wing I mean, anybody could sign up, but it is totally geared towards doing fundraisers, GoFundMe style fundraisers for left-wing groups. And if you search on there, the John Brown Gun Club, the Elm Fork John Brown Gun Club, you'll find that they've got a profile there. And you'll find that the Portland Socialist Rifle Association has a profile there. And when you go to these profiles, it allows you to subscribe. It allows you to make monthly contributions, and it's all anonymous. This is not like, fund. So this is exactly how Antifa and other groups get funded. What was the other? So Rose City Antifa on there is now Rose City something else. But just the tagging system it has, you can tell it's geared toward Antifa-like groups, because they say, oh, this is a mutual aid organization. That's one of their little code words where you kind of provide aid and comfort to the Antifa rioters. Like, maybe you don't chip in money, but you let them couch surf, or you'll make them a meal or something.
Right.
So the level of organization here is out of control.
I would say that Rose City Antifa still says it's Rose City Antifa here. And that's just interesting. But yeah, I've noticed
more and more. If you look on that Open Collective website and search for Antifa, you'll find only foreign Antifas, not local chapters. But then they'll have local chapters, like the Rose City one, have changed their name.
I don't have
and these aren't like incorporated entities anyway. I mean, it's as simple as changing your name on any social media platform.
Are you seeing this, by the way? The information on the Open Collective on your screen, because I'm hoping that I do. Okay, good. I can't find a search bar.
I didn't have. Oh, I didn't. You're not seeing a search bar?
No.
I do. What I did is I
find here Antifa. Nope, zero Antifa shows up. I just did a Control F just to see what would happen, and okay. All right.
I'll send you the pages. We have the link somewhere.
No, I believe you. You're the individual with all the resources. I mean, this is what you do. The other thing that I was curious about was that I've noticed in the media, local media, especially in Portland, where they'll often ask these rioters and or protesters, well, what do you think about this? And I mean, it's just, you have to almost be stupid not to know that like Tracy Molina is a person who's been arrested so many times, and I see her popping up, and she's being quoted in these stories like, oh yeah, well, we were just there, and she just got arrested the other day, as a matter of fact, down there at the ice place. And so, but what I noticed is that she has held several different kinds of online fundraising over the years. And here's a person who's supposedly disabled and lives and all sorts of things. And, but she seems to rake it in when she does these online, fundraisers. And I'm thinking, who's paying for those online funders anyway? Who's doing that? Are they all coming in and swarming in like they do on Share Blue and Act Blue and all that stuff, where there's itty bitty microscopic donations to certain people, and eventually they end up with $50,000? Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, well, that's something that we can't find out, but law enforcement certainly can. The FBI can find that out, and so I'm just I'm encouraged that the administration seems to be taking this seriously. It's gone on too long that we have large cities getting totally rocked and immersed in chaos just because a few a pretty relatively small activist movement. I mean, it's not like we're talking tens of thousands of protesters there are actually committing the violence. So it should be pretty easy to crack down. And I think a lot of other people will get in line. You see that's the only way to stop this stuff is to throw the book at, and use every legal tool in the toolbox to prosecute these people. And that means going through their finances. That means going through anybody who's facilitating criminal activities finances. I mean, that's totally well within the administration's rights and law enforcement's rights. It must be done to, if there's criminal activity, to prosecute it. And so that's what's important about this, is that they've been getting away with it for so long because these are blue cities. They're It doesn't happen in Florida. You don't see this kind of stuff happening in Florida. You see them happening in Illinois, where you have governors like Pritzker, or out in the Pacific Northwest.
What do they get out of it? I mean, I've been pondering this question, and it's sort of like, okay, there's money to be made, but these same organizations also fund the Democratic Party, all of which these people are a part. And so I wonder, is there some sort of symbiotic relationship there, that they're required on some level to do this, or their life is made a lot easier if they do this? I don't. Can you tell me what the big angle is why do they protect Antifa?
Well, I mean, look, I mean, not all of them, but a lot of them are communists, or closet communists, or Marxists. Yeah. And if you look at it, it's in chapter 10 of Controligarchs, the end game. Over 50 years ago, it was maybe 70 years ago, for an FBI agent, W. Cleon Skousen, published a book, The Naked Communist. And you read those Communist Party goals, dating back to over 50 years ago. I only printed 20 of them, but it's like abolish the police type stuff. And all of the things that you're seeing these Marxist groups do, these communist revolutionaries do in America, it's been part of the playbook for a very long time. And so, I mean, why do communists want to destroy things? I guess they think it'll give them power, but it has failed everywhere it's been tried. So it's just like, kind of a pain. We have to go through this all again.
Yeah, I know. And it's like every once in a while you come across somebody who's just doesn't know anything. And then you feel like you're just, do I really have to explain all this stuff again? But I didn't honestly know. I didn't realize if it were ideological. They try to have this sort of arm's length relationship with these people, except the governor, whose aide when she was still working for the governor, and she's still working now for the governor, but as the House Speaker, her aide was rioting in downtown Portland. So, I mean, there just isn't that much.
And another thing, I mean, like, why the Democrat politicians who may not necessarily be like dyed-in-the-wool Marxist communists, why they go for it is because there's not a lot of things energizing the Democratic base right now. And so, when you get a bunch of people fired up about being anti-ICE, yeah, you've got some of the really extreme ones, but there's plenty of Democrat voters who are going to turn out because of kids in cages or whatever else the talking point is. And so you get the radicals who go and attack the women's crisis pregnancy centers, but then you get a whole ton of women who just will vote purely based on a pro-abortion stance. So you got to take the bad with the good, I guess, would be the gamble that the Democrat leaders are making.
I just like you to fold this into your thinking, and it is the recent story just a few days ago in which a Swedish independent journalist looked up, found, and confronted the co-founder of Rose City Antifa, and he and his wife are holed up at a place in Sweden. They did a bunk. They left town. I'm not sure I don't know when they did that. Did you hear about it?
No, I would imagine that. I mean, a lot, they're defiant online, but I don't know if you saw the video. And they're defiant when they're behind their mask, but you see the video of when they get arrested. They were, one of them was shaking like a leaf.
Yeah, I'd be shaking too.
Again, they're not going to. I mean, again, the administration, the steps they're taking, I think will be able to knock out a lot of this chaos, if not all of it.
Hope so. I really hope so. So you were presenting yesterday, and the president said, well, could you make sure that Pam Bondi has all this information, and DHS Secretary Noem and Kash Patel, the FBI leader? And I was thinking, I'm pretty sure they already had this stuff. Don't they have your book? What did you talk with them? Did you give them what you had? What happened after that?
I talked to them. We've got open communication. We're sharing everything that we have because, and I'll tell you, Victoria, it's kind of crazy. By the time I got home today, I'm in Florida. Our team has already found another $10 million. So we're going to have to be turning things over on a pretty ongoing basis because there is just so much money going to this whole system. And we find new groups all the time because, there's all of these mutual aid groups who facilitate these acts of violence. So it's it's a kind of a daunting process, but it's also like shooting fish in the barrel. I mean, there's so many examples, which is really unsettling. And it's like when you find these many examples, there is obviously coordination going on from the top.
Yeah. I wonder if they'll find that. That'll be interesting. That's a continuing criminal enterprise. It sounds like a RICO, but you never know what they'll be able to prove. Appreciate it. Your time, Seamus Bruner. I know you must be exhausted after yesterday. And his book is Controligarchs, Exposing the Billionaire Class, Their Secret Deals, and the Globalist Plot to Dominate Your Life. And that's exactly what they're doing. And he gives insight into how Antifa makes its money. Really appreciate you being here today. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Man, that's good stuff.